I just came back to France after 10 years abroad. Can you imagine? What did I learn during that time away from France? And where am I in my language learning journey? Does it mean that I'm quitting? That I'm giving up? Let me tell you. Bonjour tout le monde, I'm Cassie and you're here to discover France the French way. As you can see, we are in a new setup and you guessed it, we're in France. I'm gonna cover the highs, the successes, but also the lows, like the challenges of language learning. So without further ado, let's dive into it. T'es prêt? C'est parti. Funny enough, the first language that I started to learn was not English, but Spanish. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. So part of my family, not close, but like on my grandpa's side, they are from Spain. The older generations, they speak French, or they spoke French. Meaning that I've never really learned Spanish. However, I was in contact with the language. So that's how I started to learn as a child. That means I had quite a big advantage when it comes to pronunciation, when it comes to understanding a bit. Because yeah, when I was visiting, I was in Spain surrounded by Spanish people. And one thing that I've learned and helped tremendously was to ask questions. I was asking questions all the time. Like adults, they were tired of me. But at least I understood. That's how I got a grasp of the language. So really, the first lesson, ask questions. People, they're never gonna think you're stupid for asking questions, no. But this way, one, if you're wondering something, if that question pops to mind, it means something for you. And that's why the answer, you will remember it way more easily. So if you have a tutor, don't just absorb what they're telling you, what they're teaching you, but ask questions. Make sure you never leave a lesson without understanding everything. And if you're in a conversation and you don't know a word, you don't understand why they structure their sentence that way, ask. Ask, ask, ask. And sometimes you will realize that natives, they don't have the answer either. And that's how you understand that, well, mistakes are okay because even natives, they don't know. And because I had that grasp of the language as a kid, when I started to learn in school, I already understood quite a lot. So it was way easier for me to remember the vocabulary, to remember everything, because I did not have that extra charge of, understanding, untangling all the rules, grammar, etc. I already had that. But now I told you that as a kid, I went to Spain. That means that I also immerse myself. And I know you're tired. You're really sick of that advice. You hear it all the time from everywhere, everyone. But stick with me because it is an important one. I'm gonna tell you why, and I'm gonna tell you an example. But before that, I think it is a good moment to subscribe to the channel if you want to make sure that you're not missing anything that will help you to have a good understanding of French and the French culture, enough to enjoy France to the fullest. And also it helps, so merci. So about immersion, what I want to tell you is the story of my departure to Australia. So imagine young Cassie, me. I was 20 years old at the time and I did not speak English. Though we learn English in school in France, my level was so low. You have no idea. I wanted to learn. I also wanted to just go away, travel, like meet new friends. You know the thing when you're 20. I did that and that was amazing. Don't get me wrong, that was amazing. I went there and I was completely lost, but I was immersed completely. I was in Australia working in a law firm, all in English, reading English, writing emails in English all day long. And then during the evenings, I was a waitress in, well, a restaurant in Australia. So same, I only had English to speak. I was in a German restaurant. If I remember well, I was the only one in the team that did not speak German. So the only thing I had in common with my colleagues were English. I was listening, reading, speaking English all day long. And when I came back, I was fluent. It took me 8 months, and even the first month, like that was enough for me to be fluent. And again, before that, my level was so low. And all thanks to immersion. And I'm not saying that you should only immerse with native speakers. It can be harsh, it can be very intimidating. With other learners, maybe, who have a level that is higher than yours, you can learn a lot and you may feel more comfortable. At least that's what I've done. In Australia, I spoke mostly with Europeans or Latinos, Latinas. Well, spoke English as a second or maybe third language. But they know better than me. They understood my path, they understood where I was coming from, and they helped me, they elevated me in a way. It works. And if you want a good way to immerse yourself in French, you can watch series or videos. I truly advise you Lingopie. That's what I do for Japanese, for example. A bit of Spanish from time to time, but I mostly watch Spanish content on social media, like reels, shorts, stuff like that. or YouTube videos. But Lingopie for Japanese is way easier because you have the subtitles and you can pause and add the vocabulary to your vocabulary list, like so I put a link in the description. After 8 months, I come back from Australia. I speak English, but I don't really want to stay in France. So what I do is that I move to the Netherlands, and that's where I spent, well, the past 8 years and a half, something like that, or yeah, about 9 years. Wow. Anyway, my biggest failure when it comes to learning a language is with Dutch. And that's when I realized that you need a real motivation or real connection with the culture and the language. And for my Dutchies who may watch that video, please bear with me. I realized, and it is very personal, that I just did not enjoy speaking the language. I loved my time there, don't get me wrong. And again, what I'm saying is extremely personal. In the Netherlands, I was mostly hanging out with friends from different countries, but not really Dutch people. It's kind of an international bubble. And that means I did not really have any incentive to learn Dutch. In everyday life and even for work, I did not really need Dutch. Because when you try one thing, like every expat in the Netherlands will understand what I'm saying. When you start speaking Dutch, well, a Dutch person speaks better English than you speak Dutch. So they will switch to English. You know, they want to avoid you the trouble. But that does not help to learn. So I really did not have any incentive and I did not enjoy the learning process. It did not bring me joy to really work on my Dutch and struggle to speak with others in Dutch. And that's how I failed. At some point, mostly during COVID, I was like, okay, I have to learn. Like, I'm in that country for years now and I haven't learned, and no way, I have to learn. I really pushed myself and I just did not want to learn anything after a few months. Anything, because I kind of burned out myself. I hated it. I hated the struggle. That's why I consider it my biggest failure. If you really don't have any connection, motivation, love for the language, it won't work. When I decided to quit Dutch, that's when I completely switched language and I decided to learn Japanese instead. I've always been fascinated by the sound of that language, the beauty of that language, and how rich the culture is. I considered that I didn't know anything, really, but I was fascinated by it. So I learned, and it's been 3 years now that I'm learning, and I'm slow. I'm really slow, but I'm still trying my best. And that's lead to my fourth point. It is, don't be afraid to make mistakes. With Japanese, what I've done is that I had a tutor online. So I used italki. I also teach on italki. Again, link in description. I had a tutor who really took me from the very beginning. Like he taught me hiragana, katakana, you know, the very basics. So from there, then he taught me a bit of grammar and we practiced a bit, etc., etc. But I did not really dare speaking and making mistakes. That's why I was so slow. I was so afraid to speak and make mistakes that I had to struggle for, well, months, years, for nothing. And now I have another tutor. Like the previous one, I loved him, but he stopped teaching. So now I have a new tutor and I'm just speaking. And I'm speaking like a child, really. Sometimes it's embarrassing, but she bears with me And she helps, she explains, she tells me where my mistakes are, she tells me how to correct them, and that's how I improve. And even if I'm still scared, I'm like, you have no idea. I'm scared to feel like a fool. I hate that feeling. I feel so empowered and so proud of myself after 45 minutes, an hour talking with her. I'm not really scared afterwards, that I just forget the fear. That's an amazing feeling, really. And if you want an example of mistakes I've made, I wanted to talk about something that was oishi. Oishi, delicious, tasty, like, you know, it's good. And I said oshi, which can be not quite there yet. And that's not really a compliment when you're talking to the person who cooked, right? So it's a kind of mistake I've made. But even in Spanish, like, I'm quite good in Spanish, really. And yet, what did I say that was so dumb? Oh yeah, I wanted to say estoy lista, like I'm ready. And instead I said, so linda, which means I'm beautiful. Like, how obnoxious. Like, seriously. What vanity. But yeah, you make mistakes. It's not my mother tongue, and it's fine. So now, I told you the mistakes, like the silly mistakes I've made. So it is your turn to tell me in the comments what kind of funny mistakes you've made in French or any other target language you have. Come on, don't leave me alone here. Okay, so Japanese, you know, slow and steady win the race. But there were other languages that I've actually studied before. I had quite a good level of Italian when I was in high school. I grew up with a Portuguese stepfather, so I've never really learned, but everything that I've learned with him or visiting his family in Portugal, I love the country, but I almost forgot everything, really. And in Italian, so for my A level, you know, le baccalauréat, I had 19 out of 20, which is amazing. I could speak almost fluently at that time. That brings me to my fifth lesson: speak. Speak, speak, speak. Practice. If you cannot practice with somebody, just talk to yourself, really. Or repeat what you see in a video. I don't care, speak, practice. Otherwise, you will lose your skills. And that's what happened with me in Portuguese and Italian. I cannot speak for the life of me, except if I'm drinking alcohol. Ho studiato italiano al liceo, ma ho dimenticato tutto. Però può capire. Può capire un po'? No, può capire tutto. And that means, to me it is extremely interesting, because that means that it's still there. It's still in my brain. But just, I don't know, when I'm sober, like 99% of the time, I just cannot speak. I don't know, I have like a barrier, something, a limitation, something blocking me. Ho studiato? Ouais, ho studiato italiano? Ouais, I don't know. So speak if you want to avoid that blockage. These lessons, they may seem like you've heard them before, and I'm pretty sure you did, but you know what? Sometimes you need a good reminder. And I'm gonna finish with my own story again. I kind of forgot them. I'm really focusing on having my former level of Spanish back, because I did not practice, same as Italian and Portuguese, but I was listening to, I was more immersing in Spanish content. So I never really lost it, but it's harder for me to speak. I'm really focusing on that, and also learning Japanese. And because I forgot how important it is to speak, to immerse yourself, etc., I did not really see my progress. I kind of forgot my motivation, like I didn't see the point. I felt like I was stupid, I was not going anywhere. I did not speak, so I did not really see any evolution, nothing. And yeah, I really wondered if I should quit. Now I remember all that. And let me tell you, I'm not quitting. I really don't want to. Now it is way more fun to learn, and I do see my progress. Like, I hope this video will help your progress. If you don't know where to start your French learning journey, I highly advise you to start with this video that is all about how to introduce yourself in French, because that is the beginning of all good conversations. Introduce yourself and learn more about who you're talking to. So that's the video for that, and I see you next time. À la semaine prochaine. Salut!